Hello and welcome to World Card Making Day. I'm Amy Sonenmann and today I'm excited to join the Button Farm in celebrating World Card Making Day with a few fun and funky and crafty cards that you can send to friends that are knitters, people that sew, paper crafters, journalers, people that love to document inside of their traveler's notebooks. All of the people that we kind of surround ourselves with and enjoy being creative with, these are cards by crafters for crafters. So today I'm excited to share 12 cards and how to make them with this great kit from Hey Crafty Girl from Simple Stories. The Button Farm has everything you need inside of this kit to make 12 cards that I will show you how to make, and then I'll give you some extra kind of things to think about to be able to make a ton more, because there's a lot of paper, a lot of extra elements in this kit that you can make bunches of extra cards. So once you learn a technique, you can switch it up and make it your own, give it your own flair or flavor, and kind of make it your own. So I'm going to share tips that will kind of give you some ideas to start from, and then you can kind of take off on your own and have fun being crafty. The first cards will be 7 cards that are using stickers, different types of ephemera, as well as chipboard. We're going to make our own 3D elements. We're going to use some dimensional stickers as well as flat stickers to kind of create a scene, and so forth. Then we have 5 more cards, some of them that are a little more detailed, some that are super simple that you can just cut and go, some that are definitely layered, scene creating in the background. So lots of different options and ideas for you to create cards for your crafty friends. So let's jump in, do some cutting of our papers, and then start building our cards. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our papers so that everything is prepped before we get started. So the first sheet we're going to look at is this one, and it's the 4x6 cut apart sheets. They're the different 4x6 elements, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut down the center line, and then we're going to cut this piece right here off. We're going to use it to create this card. Quick and easy to get us started. So let's do that. We're going to set this aside because we might want to use the back for something else, maybe to layer. We're going to go ahead and we're going to cut this piece out. We're going to cut this 3 3/4 by 5. So we're going to kind of cut a little bit off of each side. So we want the 5-inch going this way, and we're going to cut a 1/4 inch off of this, but we're going to kind of make sure that it's fairly even. So we're going to do a skosh off of this and a little off of this. So that we get our 3 3/4 nice and even on both sides. Okay, so we're going to do that. So we have this piece cut to size. We're going to set that aside. We're also going to set aside all of our other pieces because we may need them later. The next piece we're going to use is the 3x4 cut aparts. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to use this piece, and we're going to use this piece down here, the little tiny paint tubes, as well as the one that says "This is my happy place." So what we're going to do is we're going to cut them apart. but we're going to leave this piece alone. Now all of these pieces can easily be used to make other cards. So we're just going to kind of give you options to be able to maybe use this as a background. So this is going to all go in my extras pile. So we're going to go ahead and trim this up a little bit more so it has nice clean edges. So we're going to set that aside, and then we're going to go back in and we're going to cut this one apart. All right, we're going to set these aside, but make sure you keep these handy because you can easily use those as additional cards. So just set those aside. All right, so that's the second piece. The next piece we're going to cut into is this one with all of the fun, different crafty pieces, whether you're a cross stitcher or a knitter, or you love to sew or scrapbook or journal or paint. This paper has all of the things that you might want to send a card for. So we're going to cut that. We're going to do the first cut at 4 inches, and we're going to take this piece. This is facing upward. So we're going to take this piece at 4 inches, and we're going to cut it at 4. So we're going to set this piece aside. So what we're going to do, we want this piece 4 by 5 1/4. And we're going to cut 2 of those. 4 by 5 1/4. We're going to keep all these extra little pieces because we're going to use the back side of this for some mounting as well. So keep this in your stash for using as extra pieces and parts. So we have 2 of these pieces of paper. Okay, with this pattern on the back. Next we're going to cut this yellow polka dot, which is called turquoise sunflower dot. So you've got the sunflower color on one side and then the turquoise on the back. So we're going to cut that 5 1/4 by 4. We're going to cut a few of those because we might use those as things to mount other pieces on down the road. So we have a couple different choices here. So we're going to set those aside. Those pieces are going to be used to make the bases for these 2 cards. Set that over there. The next piece we're going to look at is this piece. It's called So Artsy, and it has this fun coral on one side and then the flowers on the other. So we really want the coral side because we're going to use the coral on the back of this card. So we're going to cut that piece 4 by 5 1/4. And we only need 1 of those pieces, so I'm putting all of the rest of those aside. This is also where we're going to use the This Is My Happy Place, so those 2 pieces can go together. Those were from the 3 by 4 cut aparts. The next piece we're going to cut into is this beautiful rainbow stripe. And we're going to make 2 cards out of 1 cut. Okay, so we're going to cut it this way. We're going to want to cut this tear strip off first. Move that aside, and then we're going to cut our 4-inch piece here. You're going to have lots of leftover pieces, so you can easily make extra cards along the way. Okay, so with this one, I'm going to put this aside, but we're going to cut 2 backings for this. So as you can see, I used the top half for this card and the bottom half for this card. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're first going to cut it at the 6-inch point, right down the middle. As you can see, we need to cut this piece so that we only have a little bit at the very bottom. So we're going to put the coral, light coral, to the left, and we're going to cut that piece at 5 1/4. So the light green is going to be the lesser amount because we want to have enough room to put our different words in each of those banner strips. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. There's one. This piece, I'm not a big fan of how this looks, so doing it the second time, I'm going to take a portion of this and a portion of this to make the top and the bottom more even. We know we want it at 5 1/4. So we are going to cut almost a 1/4 inch off of both sides. Actually more than a 1/4 inch off of the bottom. So it's a little more even. See how that looks better than this piece where it's cut here? So it's up to you, but I kind of like it more evenly spaced top and bottom. It's not perfect, but I kind of like it a little more even at least. So we're going to set that aside. You also have a piece of vellum, and you're going to take the piece of vellum and you are going to cut 4 by 5 1/4 strips as well. You only need a couple, but there's lots of extra to make multiple cards. So if you love this technique that we use with the vellum, you have extra pieces to be able to create more. I'm going to go ahead and cut all of mine just because I love vellum and I know I'm going to use it eventually. So I'm going to cut that piece 4 by 5 1/4. Then I have perfect pieces to go over the top of maybe a really bright and bold card base. If you want to tone it down a little bit, this is a perfect way to do that. We're just going to set those vellum pieces aside. This is the next piece we're going to cut into, and this is kind of that newspaper print on the teal background. So the first cut we're going to make is at 4 inches. Okay, so we're going to cut the first piece at 4 inches. We're going to have 2 by 4 and 5 1/4. So you'll have 2 pieces at 4 by 5 1/4. And those will be used for these cards. I'm going to set those 2 pieces aside. We also want to create this card. So with what you have left over, we are going to go ahead and cut this piece out of the leftover of the newsprint. So to save space, we're going to turn this on its side, and we're going to cut this piece at 3 1/2 by 5 1/4. And because I want more of the different lines showing, I'm going to kind of cut that up a little bit. I kind of want 3 lines showing. Let's see if we can get it. Well, we can definitely get 2 lines. So cut it however you like to make it 5 1/4. If you want to have 3 lines showing, if you only want 2 lines showing, that's up to you. But now we have this piece that will eventually go here. Okay, so set those to a side. You still have this nice big piece of floral and newsprint paper, so you'll be able to make extra cards out of that if you choose. This is one of the next cards we're going to look at, and if you remember, we cut extra pieces of this paper, which was the back of this. Okay, so if you want to use one of these and there's one that maybe isn't your favorite or you don't think you'll use, go ahead and cut one of those apart. So I probably am not going to use this one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut that one out. To be 4 by 5 1/4. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and put that here. So all of those pieces are now kind of together. I'm going to put all of our extra pieces aside. One of the things we need to do is prepare our card bases. So you have sheets of 8.5 by 11 white paper, and those are going to be our card bases. And you're going to cut them in half at 5.5 inches. So you're cutting the 11-inch side in half. And you're going to cut all of those and make your card bases. So go ahead and cut your stash. When you have your cards completed, you can either take your scoring tool and score them at 4 1/4 and then fold like so. Take your scoring tool or even a spoon if you don't have a scoring tool, and you're just going to smooth out that fold. So you're going to go ahead and fold all of your cards. So leave one of those out because we're going to use that as a card base for this card. So you're going to need one left aside. Put that over here. Once you're done with the white, you're going to take one of the black pieces. We're going to do the same thing. So for this card, it opens from the top. Okay, like so. So we're going to cut that black piece in half, but we're going to do it the opposite direction we did at the others. You're going to take the 8.5 inch side, put that up to the top of your cutter, and we're going to cut it at 4 1/4. Like that. Okay, so you're going to have one piece that's left over, which you're going to use for mounting and so forth. So you're going to need this, just to kind of set that aside for later. Fold it like this. Okay, you can either score it or use your tool to fold it and score that way. Okay, so that's going to go with this card. So while we have this out, remember that one piece of white you had? We're going to make your card base. Okay, so we're going to make this card base, and it needs to be 4 by 5 1/4. So we're going to cut one 4 by 5 1/4 piece out of this. Okay, so we're going to cut the 4-inch side first by 5 1/4. All right, we're going to set that aside to create this card. Okay, now you won't necessarily have to use all of the white pieces. We're going to use some to mount phrases on. We're going to mat things. So you're going to need 11 card bases in white, 1 in black, which is this one. Okay, the rest of the white you can set aside. We're going to use that for mounting and matting. For the first card, we're going to go ahead and start with something simple. We're going to take a white card base, opening to the right. We're going to take one of the green pieces, which were cut 4 by 5 1/4. Remember this piece that we cut? This was cut down to 3 3/4 by 5. And that goes on top of this. Okay, so all we're going to do is add our adhesive. We're just going to mount. So we're going to mount one piece on top of the other, centering it in the middle. We're going to add that to the card base, like so, centering it left to right, top to bottom. And your first card is done. This is the next card we're going to make. We're going to grab our background piece, which is cut 4 by 5 1/4. I cut some strips that are 3/8 inch thick here. So we're going to need those to mount our little words on. We're going to take our card base. We're going to use that as well. And then we're going to take our sticker sheet and we're going to use this piece right here to add here. We're also going to need some foam tape because each of the pieces of the words that are here in the corner, all of those are 3D mounted. So I don't know if you can see that. But those are all 3D mounted, so we're going to 3D mount those with some foam tape. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put adhesive on the back of this. We're going to mount that in the center, top to bottom, left to right, of our card base, like so. Then we're going to come over here and we're going to peel off gently our sticker. This is our banner sticker with these fun little Polaroids. Okay, so we're going to just kind of touch that up to the corner of the blue so it looks like it's hanging there, like so. Now you could also put foam tape behind that as well. I chose to just make the words 3D, but you could do 3D behind this as well. Then you're going to pick 4 words. Okay, I chose to do them in a stair-step fashion like this. I used O Crop, Make Pretty Things, Keep Calm and Craft On, and I got an A in Arts and Crafts. Those are the 3 I chose, but you have a whole selection of fun things to choose from. So depending on what you're using it for or who you're sending it to, you pick whatever you like. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and create the same one again. I'm going to take O Crop first, and since I already have my strips cut, I just used my extra white paper and I cut them 3/8 inch in strips like this. So it's the perfect size to mount my little pieces of words on. Okay, so there's one. Now you can go in, you can cut it with a pair of scissors or you can cut it with a trimmer, either way. That's up to you. Both work fine. The next one I need is Make Pretty Things. So we're going to leave a little bit of room for trimming. Make Pretty Things. Keep Calm and Craft On. Leaving some room in between, like so. Then we're going to need one more strip, and we're going to use, I got an A in Arts and Crafts. Okay, so center that top to bottom, left to right. Okay, so you got those ready to go. We're going to move the sticker sheet aside. We're going to grab scissors and foam tape and we'll get to mounting those. So now that I've trimmed all of the pieces and added foam tape to the back, we're going to go ahead and start with the longest one first, which is I got an A in Arts and Crafts. We're going to peel off the backing paper. We're going to place the first one, and I kind of placed the first one a little bit from the bottom and just a teeny bit from the edge. And that's going to be the way we line up all of the rest. So we'll add the second one. Keep Calm and Craft On. Kind of line them up on the right hand side, press it down. Add the next one, Make Pretty Things. And then add the O Crop next. And there you have your finished card. Quick, easy, fun for your crafty friends. This is the next card we're going to make. So the pieces you're going to need are this coral piece, cut 4 by 5 1/4. You're going to need this piece that is one of the 3 by 4 cut aparts. You're going to need to take some of your white paper and cut a mat for your 3 by 4. So you're going to want to cut it 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. Okay, that's going to mat perfectly on top of that. Then we're going to go over to the sticker sheet and we're going to choose one of these cute little girls and then an extra piece to put right here. So I chose the planner girl the first time. The next time I think I am going to choose this girl. Okay, so the painter, and I think I'm going to choose the cart. So we're going to add adhesive, foam adhesive to this, and then we're going to mount these. So let's do that. Mount it centered top to bottom, left to right. Add adhesive to the back of that. And if you notice, I've centered it kind of up towards the left corner. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to kind of center it upper left corner so that we have room to add our little girl here. Then we're going to go ahead and add foam tape to her. We'll add the little rolly cart there. We'll add our little 3D girl here. Put adhesive on the back. And mount it on our card front. Centering it top to bottom, left to right, like so. So you have two cards. You can make it look any way you want with any of the pieces in your sticker sheet. So be creative and do what makes you happy. We'll set those cards aside and pull out the next one. The next card we're going to make is this fun dimensional card out of the rainbow paper. So what you're going to need is the rainbow paper, a card base, these 5 ephemera pieces out of your ephemera pack. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add foam tape to the back of each of them. Okay, so once we get the foam tape added, we're going to glue the base down. Same as usual. I'm going to center it top to bottom, left to right, like so. And then we're going to add each of the pieces in whatever order you like. So you can just decide what order you'd like them in. And I found that it was a little hard to kind of line up this edge here. So the second time around, I decided to use my T-square and line it up using that. So you can kind of put your T-square down like so. Peel off the backing of each of your papers, your foam tape. Center them in the middle. Make sure your T-square's where you want it. Kind of bump it up against your edge, center it in the middle. And last but not least, we're going to add Crafty down. Straighten that out. And you have a quick and easy card. This is the next card I want to share with you, and it is super easy as well. We're going to use the other piece of the rainbow stripe. We're going to pull out this sheet of paper that's called I Say What, and I'm going to have you choose your favorite saying off of this sheet. And whatever saying that is, we're going to have you cut it out, including a little bit of an edge, equal all the way around. And then we're going to mount it on a piece of white cardstock. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that. If you've got your saying and you've mounted it on your piece of white, to give it a little bit more stability, added foam tape to the back, that piece is ready to go. So now what we're going to do is just add our adhesive to the back of this. Mount it on our card base, like so. We took our adhesive off the back of our saying. I love these little sayings, they're so much fun. So now we kind of want to decide whether you want it square in the middle, you want it a little bit higher. I think I'm going to do mine centered in the middle this time. Square that up a little bit. So you can either do it centered at the top, kind of top weighted, or directly in the center. Now, if you chose something, say like this, you might want to go back. You had more than a half a sheet of paper left over, so you still had more of this paper left. So I went ahead and cut another strip, a 4-inch strip, because I do love these. So I thought, well, I'll just make some extras while I'm here cutting anyway. So with this one, if I had chosen this, it doesn't really match. So I went ahead and cut a new piece of something that did match. So I'm going to mount this on here and then put it on my card base. Same with the blue. If I were to put the blue on there, I don't like it as much as I do, say, right there. So don't be afraid to kind of mix and match, and whatever you choose, pick the right color that makes you happy. And I will add those and then mount them onto a card base for extra cards. So there's lots of extra parts and pieces to be able to do that. So once you do that, we'll set all this aside and go on to the next card. For the next card, we're going to use this 3x4 cut apart. We're going to need a piece of black cardstock cut 4 by 5 1/4. You're going to need your card base. You're going to need a pair of scissors, your foam tape, a white gel pen, if you choose. If you have one, if you don't, that's fine. And you're also going to use a part of this extra piece of rainbow paper. What we're going to do is we're going to cut apart each of the little tubes of paint. You're going to pick the color that matches from this piece. And I know it's going to scare you, but we're going to just go in and we're going to freehand cut this little swish of paint in each of the colors that match. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to stop the camera and I'm going to go ahead and cut out each of these little paint tubes, and then we'll show you the next step from there. So let's cut out those and I'll be right back. So now that I've fussy cut all of the paint tubes out and I added my foam tape to the back, the next thing we're going to do is draw in, if you choose, the white line around the outside of the black piece of paper. So we're going to go ahead, and I always test it on something else first. So I always have a scrap piece of paper because sometimes white gel pens take a little bit of time to get started. So I always test it on a scrap piece, and this is the Jelly Roll 08. And I didn't know these existed until just recently. And look how beautiful it writes. So now that we have our white line to give us just a little bit of an outline on our black piece of paper, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add that to the back of our card base. Like so. Now we're going to kind of lay out where we want our paint tubes. So we're going to put our paint tubes on our piece of paper and kind of spread them out the way it fits nicely in the space available. I kind of like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the pink and we are going to let's see. I think this pink is going to be the one that I'm going to like the most. So all I'm going to do is take my scissors and just kind of cut a little paint swatch. Cut it a little bigger than you think you need it. We're just going to cut that off here. And we're going to see how we did. We did pretty good. So now that I know the size, I'm going to take this and I'm just going to kind of freehand some little squiggly paint edges, like so. And I'm going to see that it lines up correctly. Okay, I like that. Now we're going to do the yellow. And we're going to take this yellow. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to use a little bit bigger scissors. And I kind of like it squiggly because paint's not going to come out of that tube all nice and pretty and neat. So I'm going to give it a little bit more squiggle and then trim it off and see how that fits. Okay, so that one's a little bit longer than I need, so I'm going to trim that a teeny bit more on the ends. Whoops. So we're just going to take it and we're just going to go ooh, just to kind of make some fun little swishes. Okay, like that. And we're going to see how that looks. Ooh, I like that. Okay, next we're going to touch the orange. So let's cut the orange out. Same thing. You can make them harsh, you can make them round, you can make them really zigzaggy, whatever you decide. Okay, so that looks good. Now we're going to go to the aqua and do the same thing. Cut that off, and while we're there, we're going to go ahead and use this green as well. Might as well do them both at the same time. We're going to see how the green looks. So we have a little bit more room than we need on the green. So we're going to kind of chop some of the green off. All right, so now we have it all situated the way we want it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to adhere all of the pieces down. So what I would do first on this is put my paint tubes down. Since we've got them all laid out, we know where we want them. We'll add the paint tubes first, but we won't press them down super hard. So we're going to place our little pink one first, but we're not going to press that edge down yet until after we adhere our little paint swatch underneath. So once we get it in place and we have our paint piece down like this, then we're going to push that down so we know that it's in the right spot. There's the orange. Let's go ahead and add the aqua and the green. When you're done, press them all down so they're nice and secure. And there is your finished card. How cute is that? You could easily put a quote about rainbows or "You color my world." Great for all of your crafty friends or a birthday card. So cute. This is the next card we're going to make. And remember all of the pieces that we had left over from this sheet of paper? Well, I'm going to have you choose your favorite saying and kind of pick one that's a little bit longer. You can use the same one or you can choose a different one. So we're going to pull that aside. You're going to pull aside a card base, one of the 3 pieces of paper that look like newsprint. So we're going to use that. We're going to go into our chipboard pieces and we're going to get this little teeny weeny scissors. We're going to get the girl. She's also chipboard, and that's a sticker. We are going to pull this piece that says "Eat, Sleep, Craft, and Repeat" and add some foam tape on the part that has "Craft and Repeat" because we're going to pop up this little banner. So you're also going to need to cut a green banner like this from the leftover green paper, and it's about between 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch wide, and it doesn't matter how long it is because we're going to adjust it once we lay everything out. We're going to trim that at the very end. You're also going to use this tag piece. That's going to be the back here. You'll also need a piece of this white floral to make this long banner in the back. That's about 1 inch to 1.25 inches, maybe even 1.5 inches. Let's take a look. I cut mine at 1.25 inches by 4 inches long. First we're going to put our black line around the outside edge just to kind of give it a little bit of a binding box around the outside edge. And for this I use a fine line Sharpie. Works great. You can use something a little bit thicker if you choose. So we're just going to do 3 sides at this point. And I freehand it. If you choose, you can always use a ruler. I like the kind of that little more rough and less refined look. So I do it freehand. So you can see the difference between a fine line like this and then the thick line, which you can see a whole lot more boldly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to trim this piece down. And what we're going to do is we're going to trim it so that it goes like this. Okay? So you can trim it, you can fold it over, whatever works for you. Okay, I'm going to just kind of fold it first. See how I like it. Kind of like that. I always lay it out first before I glue anything down. So this goes underneath, kind of like that. We still have to put the little banner stripe on that. This would go kind of in here. We have to put the banner on that as well. This would go over the top of both. Kind of like that. Is there enough room for my girl? Because that's really important. If she doesn't fit, we're kind of out of luck. So we'll have to scooch that over just a teeny bit to make all of the words show. Okay, see where we're going with that? All right, and then at the very end, we will put our little scissors. And I forgot about this little banner right here. So let's look through our cute little tags from the ephemera set and see if we can find that. I actually think I'm going to use this one that has the date on it, but you're never going to see that because it's going to get tucked underneath. So now basically what we're going to do is start building our layers. Okay? So we're going to take all of these pieces off now that we kind of know how they're going to go. We're going to cut our little banners. We're going to go kind of halfway in the middle. And then from the corner to that top of the piece and the corner to the top of the piece like that. That gives you that nice banner. I don't worry too much about it being perfect. I kind of like the imperfection of it all. So we're going to do the same thing here. And we're going to go part way up, corner to corner. There's your banner. Then we're going to take our banner, get rid of all of our little tiny pieces so they don't get glued down. We're going to take the banner and we're going to go ahead and line it in as well. So with the same pen we used before, we're going to go ahead and just kind of give that a nice edge. It just kind of defines it a little bit more. We're going to do the same with this, but first we're going to do this piece as well. And that would be this piece right back here. All right, so with the banner that we folded over, you can cut that. I'm just going to fold it and wrap it around in the back. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to give it a little bit of a edge like so. right. Then we're going to wrap it. Kind of wrap it close to the edge over here. And I'm only going to adhere it from the back side right now, because if I need to move it, I want to be able to, because we still have to put other layers underneath it. Next, we're going to do the little banner layer. I'm going to add adhesive to that. And so far, all of these are flat to the paper. Okay. I want this to come down a little further. So it's coming down away from the top like so. Make sure that's a little straighter. That's the nice thing about the banner covering it up. You can move this down as low as you want to. We also have this little piece that we're going to adhere behind that top banner, or this little guy. So we're going to put that, say right there. It's going to kind of frame the top of her head. That looks a little crooked. Okay, so we've got that. We've got the underneath pieces. Now we can go ahead and glue this piece down over the top. Now we're going to build the layers on top of that. So we're going to take, I decided to take this one. I just want to take naps and make pretty things, which was like all of our dreams, you know, to be able to just make pretty things and have a relaxing day. Okay, so we have that. We want to make sure that the girl still fits. So, and we want to be able to see this, so we're going to push it over, the girl over as far as we can, and then lay down this piece. Now that that's there, we can take the sticker off of this. You might just add a teeny bit of adhesive or wet glue to the back of it. I think I'm going to, just so that I can move it around a little bit. That just allows me a little bit more flexibility so I can push it up or down or left or right. So I'm going to add just a little bit of glue. Then we're going to place that. And the glue just allows me to kind of move it. And then when you're satisfied, you just push it into place like so. Next, we're going to add our little scissors. We're going to do the same thing. Here's our little scissor piece. We're just going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back, just so we can move it a little bit. Sometimes chipboard stickers don't always stick the best, especially after you've had them in your stash for a while. So if that's ever the case, just add a teeny bit of wet glue and you'll be fine. All right, so let's add that to the corner. How cute is that? Okay, so we've got most of our layers on. So the only thing we're missing is this little green piece, which we've got to decide where we want it and how low we want it. And then this. Okay, so that looks about right. So I'm going to go ahead, kind of put that in place, turn it over, and just trim it. Okay, so we have what we want. This is going to get 3D mounted with foam tape, but before we do that, we're going to also add those little black lines to give it a little more definition. I am not a perfectionist. I don't really worry too much about all of the perfect pieces. I kind of like to embrace the little more eclectic, but if you are a perfectionist and you like perfect lines, by all means, go ahead and use a ruler to put in your lines. If that makes you happy, do what makes you comfortable. All right, let's add a little foam tape to the back. put that kind of right up against the edge, like so. Then we're going to go ahead and add the Eat, Sleep, Craft, and Repeat. And I only put adhesive, the foam adhesive, if you can see that, on the back side underneath Craft and Repeat. I didn't put it all the way over because we already have foam tape on this. So if you put foam tape on both, it's going to pop up too much and it's not going to look right. So we're just going to put dry adhesive on the other side. And we're going to go ahead and lay that down over the top of the green banner, like so. And there you have the top piece to your card. Now we're going to go ahead and just adhere it to our card base and you're all finished with that card. The one thing I forgot to do is add my line at the top. Now you have another card completed. This is the next card we're going to make, and it takes advantage of more of the stickers from the sticker sheet as well as a few of the pieces of the chipboard stickers. So since we were using the newsprint paper anyway, go ahead and grab your extra piece of newsprint paper. We're going to go ahead and put our black line around the edge if you want to. So let's do that. We're going to adhere that piece to the front of your card base because we're going to be adding some heavy things to it. What this box does is it gives it a bounding box for everything to fit inside. So as you take a look inside of your little box of goodies, we're going to pull, say, the washi tape. You can pull, here's a nice fun little glue gun. If you don't want to use the glue gun, there are other pieces inside that you could use. Okay, so we're going to start with those. And then from the sticker sheet, we're going to choose the 3 pens, the paintbrush, the pencil. I love these little paper clips, they're adorable. The paintbrush and the paint palette, the camera, an ink pad, a sewing machine, the scissors. Of course, you got to have your date stamp, as well as the Crafty Girls rock. Now, if you don't want Crafty Girls rock, remember you have all of these that you could use as well if you didn't want to use a sticker. There's a ton of things left over. I think this time maybe I'll use Dream Crafty Dreams. That might be kind of fun. Okay, so now that we got all of our pieces kind of in order, we're going to start from the outside and work in so that we know where everything belongs. Okay. The first thing we're going to use are these 3 pens, and we're going to put them in the upper left corner. So we're going to kind of make them fairly high. So that we have room for the other pieces as well. Okay, there's that. Let's take our date stamp and put that next. We'll kind of keep that in place to see where that's going to end up. We're going to take our little ink pad and we're going to float the little ink pad. There's also a pair of scissors. So we will grab the scissors from this sticker sheet. And we will add that here. Let's add this. We're going to hold on the sewing machine because I want to make sure. Let's see if Crafty Dreams. Maybe Crafty Dreams isn't going to fit there. It's a little bit bigger, so let's go ahead and use Crafty Girls rock. I didn't think about it being bigger. So here's Crafty Girls rock. So we are going to kind of scooch that in, like so. We're going to keep this here so that we know what the placement of that is. Now that we have Crafty Girls rock in place, we can kind of decide if we want to do the sewing machine, and I might have put the scissors down too soon. So let's go ahead and put the sewing machine first, like that. We're going to put everything else down first, and then we're going to put the scissors down. So we're going to put the little piece of sticker that has the paintbrush. Then we're going to put the pencil and the paintbrush over here, kind of close to the edge, so that maybe we can still add some of the little paper clips. We're going to add the pencil. So it's kind of like a collage. All the parts and pieces going together. I'm going to put that there for now. Let's take a look and see if we can fit some of the paper clips. Can we make it? Ooh, we can. All right, so let's do the light pink. So green. Let's add, a yellow. Then we'll go for this orange and see if there's room for the green. There may not be. So we'll do the orange. I'm sorry, the yellow first and then the orange. And I think that 4 is good. I think that 5 would be too close together. Let's do that. I'm happy with that. All right, let's see if we have room for the camera. The camera's kind of close. So this time around, let's scooch the washi tape up a little bit. We will add our scissors. Let's make them go the other direction, like so. And let's use maybe 2 of the tacks, if they'll fit, right here. There, I kind of like that. And then, last but not least, we can go ahead and stick down our washi tape here. We're going to also add a little bit of adhesive to the back of that. That'll keep it secure as it goes through the mail. So let's do that. And I do have this one little button that might be kind of nice. So let's put the button right there. So as you can see, we kind of just, oh, I forgot to put the tape gun down. So let's do that. Forgot we hadn't already done that. All right, so now we've got the tape gun. And we're going to put the tape gun in its spot as well. And there you have your finished card. So even though they don't look exactly the same, you have lots of things inside that will allow you to do a fun little collage and use all the parts and pieces that are left over. This is the next card we're going to make. And the fun part about this card is that there's this little piece at the bottom that you can see when you close the card. So that's about the only tricky part. And it's not even that tricky, but I just want to show you that part first so you know how it goes together. If you remember, we cut this piece to be 3.5 by 5 1/4. Okay, so 5 1/4 by 3.5. So with that, we're going to start there. And it might seem odd, but I'll show you in a minute why it makes sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to push that piece centered left, top, and right. Okay, so as long as those pieces are centered, see this extra piece at the bottom? We're going to bring in our trimmer and we're going to cut that piece off to make it look like this. Okay, so what we want to do is cut the same amount of space that we have here, here, and here. All right, so we're going to end up cutting off about 1/2 inch. Okay, so now the card looks like this. Okay. On this card, I chose this fun and funky pattern to show underneath to kind of peek through, and I like that. But for this card, we're going to use this green. Okay, I had some extra in my stash over to my right, so I'm going to cut a piece of this green that is about 3/4 inch. Okay, 3/4 inch this way, and I just cut it the length that the scrap piece was. And I'll cut off what I don't need. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add adhesive. We're going to lay that green piece down at the very bottom, so flush to the bottom. We're going to flip it over. We're just going to go ahead and cut off the remaining part. Okay, so that's the inside of the card. So when you close it, it's going to look like this, with this nice little white border, the green showing on the bottom, and then this fun newsprint at the top. Okay, so that was really the hardest part. Now we're going to bring in our little ephemera tray here, and I have some pieces that are chipboard. We haven't used a lot of the chipboard, just a few. But this time we're going to use this fun little pom-pom banner. We're going to use the chipboard typewriter, this little jar of pens, as well as the camera. And then this piece is just an ephemera piece, but it has this brown edge on it, and I don't want the brown edge. I want it to look like I'm typing on top of this piece of paper. So before we get started, I'm just going to go ahead and cut that brown part off. So it actually looks like a piece of paper. Okay. So then we're going to put that in the typewriter. We're going to glue it to the back side so we know exactly where it's supposed to go. And you can use a trimmer for this too. I just grabbed a pair of scissors because it was fast. But you feel free to do what you want. Okay, so there's our keep calm and crop on. And I have my little chipboard pieces in my little tray, as well as my little pom-pom banner. I'll put that over to the side. So we are going to add this piece to our typewriter. Okay, that's going to be the first thing we do. All right, so it's going to look like that. So we're going to take off the piece on the back. It is the sticker sheet. And then we're going to add that in, kind of centering it left to right on that line, right under the word on. Okay, so we've got that down. That's the first piece. Now, if you notice, it's hanging over the edge, and this is a sticker, so it's still sticky. All right, so what we don't want is to stick it to the green piece. So we're going to add this but we're only going to press down at the top. We're not going to press down at the bottom because we're just going to take a little bit of powder and we're going to powder the bottom of that typewriter so that it doesn't stick shut. Okay, for now we're just going to put this piece back underneath it that we took off until I can get the powder. Okay, the next part is the camera, and we're going to put the camera flush to the bottom of the white piece right here. Okay, so we're just going to take the sticker off and we're going to kind of place that but not stick it down yet because I still want to 3D mount this piece to kind of let it hang over like it's on a table or a desk. Okay, so we want to place those where that's going to work. Okay, so I kind of like that. Okay, all right, so now we can rub that down, get it the way you want it. We're going to use a little piece of foam tape only on this side because this side is going to adhere to the camera. Okay, so can you see that? It's going to adhere to the camera, and I'm going to need foam tape just on the far right side here. All right, so we're going to take off the sticker sheet backing. We're going to get a piece of foam tape, and we're only going to put it on the right side. And if anything shows at the top, just give it a little trim. All right. Now, because we are 3D mounting this, I do want to add a little bit of wet glue to this side where it's going to come in contact with the camera. So we've got our wet glue, we've got our foam tape. Peel the foam tape off, and then we're going to mount those two pieces together. Now remember, this is also a sticker, okay? So it's a chipboard sticker on both pieces. So you're going to want to powder both of those pieces to make sure they don't stick to the green bottom, okay? So we'll do that at the very end. The last piece is to put on this fun pom-pom banner, which is so cute, all right? But again, you're going to want to add some wet adhesive to kind of keep that in place. You don't need a lot, you just need some stability so that when it goes through the mail, it sticks really well, okay? And we're going to go from corner to corner, like so. We're just going to kind of push that down and hold it in place so that it doesn't go anywhere. Okay. And you are finished with another card. Remember, we're just going to powder the back of those either with baby powder or cornstarch. But how cute is that? This is the next card we'll be making. And we're going to use a card base, this yellow polka dot. We're going to cut a strip from our scrap paper of this green to make it look like a carpet or a rug on the bottom. We're going to use the sticker that is the desk. We're going to choose another girl because we use this girl on one of the other cards, so we're going to go ahead and choose a different girl. We also used this on another card, so we're going to use this time around, I'm thinking maybe the little end table with books on it. So let's go ahead and get those. And then we're going to use one of the stickers from the sticker sheet. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put adhesive on the back of this green piece and we're going to add it to the bottom of the yellow piece to create the rug. So we're going to lay it down. We're going to put our green piece over the top of the yellow. That yellow piece is cut 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so it's going to fit on here with a little bit of a white edge, which is what we've been doing this whole time. So once you get the rug on, you're going to cut off the excess and make your card base. Next, we're going to take the desk. We're going to pop out those excess pieces. There's a couple white pieces that you're going to want to pop out. There you go. And we're going to put that on the bottom. I pushed the table far enough down so that the chair leg, this tiny back chair leg, is on the carpet. So as long as that leg is on the carpet, we're good. So we're going to adhere that down. We're going to choose one of the girls. Let's do the photographer. She's really cute. And let's see what the little end table looks like. So if we put the little end table down here, and the photographer, I kind of like the way that looks. Before you commit, you can always try it. I like that. So let's add some adhesive to the back so that we can 3D our little girl. Now that we have foam tape on our girl, we're going to go ahead and add her onto our scene. Just a quick and easy scene. You can add any sort of saying at the bottom if you'd like. Maker's gonna make, dream crafty dreams, let's make art, life is a blank canvas. All of them are really great sayings, but I'm gonna keep the same saying. Crafting keeps me sane. Now, I also cut another piece that was just an extra strip, and it's 3/8 inches wide, or I should say 3/8 inches tall, and then whatever the length is of my sticker. Okay, so I have a little bit extra room, so I'm going to just mat that on top of that green piece, and then I'm going to trim off the edge like so. Add a little piece of foam tape to the back, and then our card is almost complete. So we're going to put this like a little sign above the desk, a little high, kind of like that. Press that down, and then we're going to take our black pen and we're going to do our stitching. So I'm going to put in my little hash marks first, so I know kind of where I want them. Put a few here. Okay, so I've got my hash marks like that. Then I'm just going to kind of run my line just up to that hash line, or the hashtag. At the corner, just make your corner. Come down. And then you're done. And there's your finished card. Before I move on to the next card, I also wanted to show you a vertical card that is equally as fun, kind of creating a scene as well. So you've got, this time, your yellow polka dot carpet with the green in the background for wallpaper. You have your bookcase, which is in the background, as well as a typewriter on top of your bookcase. You have your little girl, whichever one you choose, 3D mounted with foam tape. And then I chose 3 different sayings from the bottom of the sticker sheet and mounted it on white paper and 3D mounted that on top of the card. So as you can see, you've got lots of dimension, but just kind of another fun scene card that you can make as well, just to give you a different look and a different idea. But you have lots of extra parts and pieces to be able to make an extra card. So I'm going to kind of give you that as well to think about and try. This is the next card we'll be making. It has lots of 3D elements on a white background, and then it opens this way. So you're going to need your black card base folded like this. Okay. We're going to need your white piece of paper as your card base. You're going to need this little girl. It's a tag with the little girl with her camera. You're going to need your black pen because we're going to do some pen work. You're going to need one of the little date ephemera pieces to put here. You'll also need this piece of ephemera. You're going to need the buttons. This time we're going to use the measuring tape as well. And one of these two, whichever is your favorite, of these two sayings. They're chipboard sayings. And then in your kit, you're going to have a nice long piece of this ribbon. I used all of mine and this is all I have left, but yours is going to be a nice long piece of ribbon to create this fun bow. So let's get started. As you can probably see a pattern by now, but we're going to put the pen work in to create that edge. Let's do that first so we know how much room we have and extra space left to right and top to bottom. This may drive some of you crazy, and I totally understand. If you want to use a ruler, use a ruler. That's perfectly okay. No judgment zones going on here. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our little tag, and I'm going to show you the sample up close. Let's see if it's going to focus. So you can kind of see that there's the edge around it, and then there's these little tiny, 3 tiny dots. I just added that in for interest. There are no dots on this one. I just added the dots. So I'm going to have you go ahead and add some fun little dots in like this, and then add your little border. Okay, that's going to be the next thing we do. And I just stop it just short of where her skirt is. Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add some dots. We're just going to do like a little triangle of dots here and there. Kind of spread out a little bit. Just to kind of fill it in and make it look not quite so boring. Just gives it a little bit. You could use this for wallpaper on the back of a card. It just gives you a little bit more dimension. Okay. So let's go ahead and just place our pieces to see what we're working with. So we're going to put this down. This is the bottom piece. This is going to get 3D mounted over the top. Okay. Pick one of your pieces of ephemera that have the date on it. We're just going to slide that underneath, maybe here. We're going to add some buttons here, as well as this piece of chipboard that is the measuring tape. You can choose either one of those sayings: live, love, create, or make pretty things. This time I think I'm going to use the make pretty things since I used the other one here. That's going to go right about there. And the one thing we didn't choose was a little saying for the bottom. So you can either choose something off of the sticker sheet, or there are also sayings inside of your ephemera that says, "So what?" DIY Queen, Made with Love, Crafty Girl, Planner Girl. You could choose one of those, or you could choose any of these. Art is messy, let's make art. You are the crafting queen. Scrap on, scrapper. Maker's gonna make. So pick any of the things that you think you might want to use. I think I'm going to do the Let's Make Art, but you pick what you like. So since I'm going to use this piece of Let's Make Art, remember the piece that we cut the little paint splatters out of? I'm going to use that to mount my little saying on. And I think I'm going to use the orange to match the orange flowers. So to do that, I'm just going to stick it down. You can use a trimmer if you'd prefer. I am going to just wing it and cut it with a pair of scissors. Back to that embrace the imperfect, you know? Well, they say perfectly imperfect. That's what I'm doing today. Okay, so we're just gonna do that. We're gonna add a little bit of foam tape so that it's ready when we are okay, so that's going to go kind of down here. And that's kind of coming together pretty well. I'm liking the way that's looking a lot. So I'm kind of liking the way that's looking. So now we can go ahead and start gluing things down and finishing up our card. First thing we're going to do is move these just gently aside. This is our two main pieces. These two right here are the bottom. So we're going to do those first. We're going to adhere those two pieces first. So we know that it's in the right spot. We're going to do it right about there. Okay, all right. We're going to put our little tag down. We're going to add just a little more adhesive underneath this date because I don't think I put any there. All right, we are going to add our chipboard sticker that says Make Pretty Things, and we're going to add foam tape to the right hand side because the left hand side is going to just pop up right over the top of that tag. So we're just going to add one little strip of foam adhesive again to that right hand side, so this side only. And then we're going to bump it up against here and adhere it. And the only thing left to do are to add our little buttons. We're going to add some wet glue to our buttons. The nice thing about the wet glue is it allows you to move it around a little bit more. Keep your options open for a little bit longer. Then we're going to go in and we're going to add the measuring tape over the top of the buttons, like so. And just going to push those down a little bit to make sure the glue adheres. The only thing left to do is to make your bow out of your ribbon. And what I did is I made the bow by itself. I tried 2 or 3 different things. I tried to thread it through the hole. That didn't work out so well. So I made the bow first and I glued it to the tag. I did not run it through the hole at all. So now all you have to do is add your adhesive to the back of your card and adhere your card to the card base. Like so. You have two cards, a little bit different, but equally as adorable. Before I move on to the last card in the card class, I wanted to show you all of the bits and pieces and parts and stickers, ephemera, chipboard, all of this stuff that you see on the table is just leftovers. These are things that we didn't use that are totally available to you to use for cards, for layouts, including full sheets of paper, lots of partial pieces of paper. And the last card that I'm going to share with you is how to kind of use some of the extra parts and pieces that are left over to create lots of fun cards that are quick and easy. You can do this with any of your scraps, not just this kit. So think about this as you are working on the last card, because this will give you options for days, because we always have those bits and pieces that are big enough to cut a 2x2 square out of that you can set aside, put in your tray, and just be creative. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to move some of this stuff aside and show you what I'm talking about. This is the last card in the class. And one thing I want to share with you is that when you're done with all of your projects, so when you have all of these extra bits and pieces, but you've used all the larger pieces, you've scrapbooked anything you want to scrapbook, you've made tons of cards, this is the perfect way to use all of the scraps at the very end. And what this is a bunch of 2x2 squares underneath that are paper pieced together and then outlined to make it look like it's stitched. Over the top is a piece of vellum to kind of tone down that harsh color. It kind of gives it a really muted, easy blend. And then on top, you can put anything on top. You can put a saying, you can put a piece of ephemera, whatever you want on the top for any occasion. So these are kind of my go-to cards for all of the pieces that I don't really want to throw away. I still have some beautiful papers that I would like to use. This is what I like to do with them. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So first you're going to take one of your card bases, and it is going to be 4 by 5 1/4. That's your card base. Okay, so this is what you're going to glue all of your 2x2 squares to. So with that being said, we're going to put that on the ground, and we are going to just fill it up with adhesive. Okay, we're going to cover it in adhesive, because what we're going to do is we're going to just fill it with 2x2 squares to make this background. Okay, so when I start, I like to start with the piece that I like the most, like that is my most favorite piece. And I tend to put it somewhere that everyone will see it. Okay, so I always put things on an angle. And you can either do it this way or this way. We'll go ahead and do it opposite of what I did there. Okay, so we're going to put it, say, right here. Okay, that's the first piece in your quilted pattern. Then you're going to take another piece and you're going to butt that up against the first piece, and you're going to just fill in all of the different parts and pieces. I try to keep things a little different so that there's not two whites next to each other. I like to add a little bit of fun and funky texture. So this is our first row. Okay, so let me show you. Let's finish the first row. Say we do this. Okay, so there's our first row. We have it all glued down. When we go in to do our second row, we're going to kind of put it between the two pieces. So it's like a quilt. It looks patchworked. So we're going to put this piece in the middle of that seam. Okay. And then we're going to just go ahead and fill it in. You might need to add a little more adhesive along the way, which might be fine. Let's add a little bit of yellow. Let's do, I love this. So see how this isn't a true 2x2 square, but I love the pattern. You're going to have little parts and pieces like these that you're going to have to fill in. So use these to do that with. Okay. Same with this. I love the newsprint effect, but I didn't have a piece big enough for a 2x2. So I'm going to put it in that spot. And I love this brown. I want a little bit more of the pink and teal flowers. So I'm going to do that. I've got this little piece in the corner which looks like it might need a little bit more adhesive. So let's look and see. We didn't use this polka dot. So we're just going to kind of add a little piece, add some more adhesive, and glue it down. Okay, so let's move that aside. And look at how many pieces we have left over. I mean, I didn't even touch the majority of those pieces. Okay, so now we have our base. So what we're going to do, you can use your trimmer, but I'm just going to cut it with scissors because we have a cardstock base, so it's pretty easy to just trim it with scissors. And all of these pieces can be used on your next card for the extras, okay? So don't feel like you have to throw those away yet. And I'm not doing a great job of cutting. I can go in later and just square them up a little bit more with my trimmer, which I think I'll do because I wasn't very careful. Okay, so here are all the extra pieces which could easily make another card. Okay, so we'll put those over there for later. So here's our card. Okay, I'm going to go ahead now and do my pen stitching. Okay, so I'm going to show you this. Okay, so I stitch only in the center. I don't stitch along the edges. Okay, I only stitch the ones that lead into the center, nothing that touches the white space. Okay, so let's just go in and freehand some lines, because you know I love to do that. Now, if you have a sewing machine and you want to sew this, you could easily stitch this with a sewing machine. I do not. I have a sewing machine. It is not my friend, and it would have taken me a whole lot longer to figure out how to stitch it correctly than it did just for me to take my pen and do this. So I know I'm lazy, but the sewing machine and I are not friends. That's why my daughter sews, and I do cards and scrapbooking. So together we make a great team because she sews and I do paper crafting. So between the two of us, we have everything figured out. Okay, so you're just going to add all of your lines. They don't have to be perfect. I keep saying that, but some of you are going to go cringing at me. I apologize for that, but it's how I roll. All right, so we have our lines in. Next, we're going to put the piece of, okay, so see how bright and bold that is, and it's a little much. You add this over the top, and look how beautiful. It just kind of gives it a subtle quilted background, okay? So with this one, I used one of the sayings. This time around, I'm going to use a chipboard saying, crafty wife, happy life, which is so true in my household. So what we're going to do is we're going to add this chipboard piece. I mounted it on a black background, and then I added another piece of white to the back of that. So it's going to give me a 3D effect. I'm going to go ahead and add this to the top, like so. Adhere that down. Add some adhesive. Okay, and we're going to center it in the middle, upper middle. Okay, so it's going to be pretty well centered left, top, and right. Okay, so that there's extra room on the bottom. Like with anything else, when you use vellum, your adhesive shows through. So what we're going to do is only put adhesive where this piece is so that you won't see the adhesive through it. And I'm actually going to use some wet glue this time. You can use dry, like a tape runner, tape adhesive. But the wet glue allows me to move it a little bit easier from left to right and top to bottom. So by doing that, I can center my vellum so that I have a nice border all the way around the edge. And we're just going to hold that down, let it kind of adhere a little bit. Then we're going to take our card base, and we're going to add our adhesive to that. And we're going to take this piece and add it to the card base. Like that. So this is something you can do with any of your scraps from any collection. It's fast, it's easy, and it's kind of fun. You can sit and do it in front of the TV. You can make up a bunch of these and just wait and put a happy birthday or a piece of ephemera. You could easily add chipboard stickers, anything you want, die cuts. If you have dies, metal dies, you could easily do something fun, a birthday cake or whatever that matches. So don't throw all those scraps away. Make them into something quilted and fun and useful to give to your friends. I do want to show you one last sneak peek of something else that I enjoyed along the same lines. I actually have a Hexagon Punch, and I know that there are Hexagon dies out there on the market as well. So I took my Hexagon Punch and I punched out a whole bunch of them in the different patterns as well. And instead of using 2x2 squares to line everything up, I use the hexagons, and it creates a totally different effect. Let me lift this up so you can see it more closely. See how pretty that is? And those are with hexagons, but who says you can't do it with triangles? Or, sky's the limit for what you might be able to do. If you're a quilter, I'm sure you could do all kinds of patterns in the background with your excess scraps. So think outside of the box and use your scraps to come up with quick and easy cards and give them as a gift. You've already made your layouts or your traveler's notebooks or your cards, but you could easily make 5 to 10 cards with just your scraps by doing something simple like this. So I hope that you have learned something fun and unique or different today in the World Card Making Day class at the Button Farm Club. All of the pieces and parts that you need are included in the kit, so you can shop for that and take your time. You don't have to do it with me. You can sit and do one card at a time and spread it out over a week or two and just kind of have fun and use these techniques to create cards from any product line, whether it be a Christmas card. Wouldn't one of these cards be beautiful with an assortment of Christmas patterns 6x6 paper pads work beautifully for this because they all have tiny prints on them. So maybe take a look at your 6x6 paper pads. So I hope that you have fun creating some crafty cards to share with your crafty friends. I hope you have a wonderful World Card Making Day. Share the love, drop some cards in the mail. Be sure to take a picture and use the hashtag Button Farm Club to show us what you created. If you come up with something unique or special, we would love to see it because you guys are amazingly creative and there's a ton of extra parts and pieces that you can just go crazy with. So we can't wait to see what you come up with. Have a wonderful day, enjoy a weekend of crafting, and thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like, share, and leave a message. Have a great day. Happy World Card Making Day. I'm Amy Sonenmann and I'm excited to be sharing a little quick tip from the Button Farm Club with you today. Happy World Card Making Day. I'm Amy Sonenmann and today I'd like to share a quick card that you can use with all of your scraps when your projects are finished and you're done with your layouts and you've made cards and you still have bits and pieces left over. I'm going to show you how to quickly create a fun card that you can use up all your scraps and still give as a gift or send to a friend. So join me and let's get started. Thanks for joining the Button Farm Club for World Card Making Day. I'm Amy Sonenmann and I'm excited to share a quick tip for making lots of cards with your scraps. So let's jump in and get started. Here are just a few samples that are quick and easy to get you started. We hope that you enjoy this quick tip. Dig through your scraps, maybe check out your 6x6 paper pads as they work great for this quilted technique, and enjoy making cards for your friends. And be sure to drop them in the mail. You can't make cards and not send them, so you get bonus points for actually mailing them. We hope you have a wonderful World Card Making Day. Thanks for joining us at the... We hope you have a wonderful World Card Making Day. Thanks for joining us at the Button Farm Club. And be sure to check out all of the wonderful things happening over there today. We are excited to share them with you, including lots of classes and tips and tricks for you to get inspired. I'm Amy Sonenmann, and I am so excited to share the day with you.